Captain Taman stood on the bridge of the warship Retribution, staring at the stars through the massive viewport. His cybernetic eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of computers and the breathing of his crew. After 30 years of military service, Taemin knew this kind of quiet meant something was about to go very wrong. Commander Hana walked toward him, her boots clicking on the metal floor. She held a datapad in her hand and her face showed concern. Taemin had worked with Hana for 15 years. He could read her expressions better than most people could read books. "We received a transmission," Hana said. "Emergency frequency. It's being broadcast across half the galaxy." Taemin took the datapad from her hands. The screen showed a message in standard galactic script, but the video feed made his chest tighten. Creatures with translucent skin and large dark eyes stared at the camera. Their bodies glowed with soft blue and green lights that flickered like dying candles. They were underwater, surrounded by ruins of what must have been beautiful cities. "We are the Velith of Velith Prime," the voice said through the translator. "Our world is dying. The Kryn Dominion attacks us without mercy. They bomb our cities. They poison our oceans. We have no weapons. We have no soldiers. We sent messages to the Galactic Council 3 months ago. They said our situation is politically complicated. They will not help us." The video showed children next, their small bodies pressed against their parents. Their skin lights flickered with fear. Taemin had seen many terrible things in his career, but something about their helplessness affected him. "We know humanity's reputation," the voice continued. "We know you are called the galaxy's monsters. We know you fight wars that other species cannot imagine. We are desperate. Please help us. We will give you anything. Just please stop them from killing us." The transmission ended. The bridge remained silent for a long moment. Lieutenant Baum, the youngest pilot on the ship, spoke first. "Sir, the Velith are known throughout the galaxy for their art and philosophy. They've never hurt anyone. They don't even eat meat." "I know who they are," Taemin said quietly. Engineer Dongwu worked at his station, his fingers dancing across multiple screens. "Captain, I'm analyzing the transmission. There's something strange here." "Strange how?" Taemin asked. "The distress call contains more than just a plea for help," Dongwu explained. "Embedded in the data are detailed maps of Velith Prime. Defense positions, population centers, resource locations. Even coordinates for the Kryn fleet positions. This isn't just a cry for help. Someone sent us intelligence data." Hana moved closer to Dongwu's station. "Why would they do that?" "Because they knew we would need it," Taemin said. "They knew we would come, and they knew we would come to fight." Dr. Isol entered the bridge from the medical bay. She was wiping her hands on a cloth, having just finished treating a crew member's injury. "I heard the transmission in medical. Are we really considering this?" "The Galactic Council refused to help them," Baum said. "Someone has to do something." "The Galactic Council refuses a lot of things," Isol replied. "That doesn't mean we should get involved in every conflict." Taemin looked at each member of his command crew. These people had followed him through battles that would give most species nightmares. They trusted his judgment even when his decisions led them into hell. "Dongwu, pull up everything we know about the Kryn Dominion," Taemin ordered. Information flooded the main screen. The Kryn were a reptilian species that had built an empire through conquest. They were technologically advanced and had a military culture that valued strength above all else. They saw peaceful species like the Velith as weak and deserving of subjugation. "They've been expanding for 200 years, Dongwu said. 15 star systems under their control. They have 300 warships currently in the Velith system. Their weapons technology is roughly equal to ours. And they're using banned weapons," Hana added, reading from another screen. "Biological agents designed to kill specific species. Genetic plagues. They're not trying to conquer Velith Prime, they're trying to exterminate the Velith and take the planet." Taemin's jaw tightened. War was one thing. Genocide was another. Even humans with their bloody history had learned to see the difference. "What are the Velith offering in payment?" Taemin asked. Dongwu pulled up the contract terms. 30% of their refined aquamarine crystals. Current market value is approximately 8 trillion credits. It's enough to power Earth for a century. Baum whistled softly. "That's everything they have." "Yes," Taemin said. "They're offering us everything they own to save them." Dr. Isol crossed her arms. "And if we fail? If we take their payment and can't stop the Kryn?" "Then they die poor instead of rich," Hana said bluntly. but at least they die knowing someone tried. Taemin walked to the viewport and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, billions of innocent creatures were dying while the galaxy's civilized species debated politics. The Galactic Council would eventually act, but only after proper committees were formed and proper procedures were followed. By then, the Velith would be extinct. "Sir, permission to speak freely," Baum said. "Granted. We joined the military to protect people. Earth's military might be brutal, but we're not supposed to be cruel. The Velith need help. They're paying us everything they have. Isn't this exactly the kind of situation we're supposed to respond to?" Isil shook her head. "We're not heroes, Baum, we're soldiers. There's a difference, maybe," Baum replied, "but maybe we can be both." Taemin turned back to face his crew. Dongwu analyzed the tactical situation. How many ships would we need? Against 300 Kryn warships with defensive positions? Dongwu calculated quickly. Realistically, we would need at least 200 ships for a conventional assault. We have 47 in the 3rd Expeditionary Force. So a conventional assault is suicide, Hana said. Yes, Dongwu agreed. Then we won't fight conventionally, Taemin said. Hana, start planning. I want options that don't involve throwing our people into a meat grinder. Dongwu, I want detailed analysis of Kryn fleet composition, supply lines, and command structure. Bon, check your pilots. I want everyone ready for extended operations. Isul, prepare medical for combat casualties. Sir, Isul said carefully. Are you authorizing this mission? Taemin looked at the datapad again, at the image of Velith children huddled in fear. He thought about his own childhood during the resource wars, hiding in bunkers while the world burned above. He remembered the feeling of helplessness of waiting for someone, anyone, to make the killing stop. Send a message to Earth Command, Taemin ordered. Inform them that the 3rd Expeditionary Force is accepting a contract from the Velith government. We're authorized to operate independently under mercenary provisions of military code. Sir, Earth Command will want approval before we commit to a conflict this size, Hana warned. Then they can send their approval to Velith Prime, Taemin said. Because we're leaving in 2 hours. Send a reply to the Velith. Tell them humanity accepts their contract. Tell them we're coming. The bridge crew snapped into action. Orders were transmitted throughout the fleet. 47 warships began preparing for hyperspace jump. Weapons were checked. Engines were powered up. Thousands of human soldiers prepared for a war that most of the galaxy thought they would lose. Taemin remained at the viewport, watching his fleet come alive. Hana stood beside him. Are we doing this because it's right or because the payment is good? She asked quietly. Does it matter? Taemin replied. It might. To them, the Velith called us monsters. They're not wrong. But sometimes monsters are exactly what you need when worse monsters are trying to kill you. Hana nodded slowly. And if we can't stop the Kryn? If 47 ships aren't enough? Taemin's cybernetic eyes reflected the stars. Then we make them regret ever coming to Velith Prime. Win or lose, the Kryn will remember the day they drew humanity into their war. The fleet jumped to hyperspace, leaving Earth space behind. They traveled toward a war that nobody expected them to win. But the Velith hadn't called for heroes. They had called for survivors, for fighters, for the species that refused to die even when the universe tried to kill them. The Velith had summoned humanity's Armada. What they would receive wasn't compassion or mercy. It was something far more dangerous and far more reliable. Human determination, backed by weapons that made the galaxy uncomfortable and tactics that made even allies nervous. The message had been sent. Humanity was coming. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Velith system. Captain Taemin watched the main screen as sensors painted a picture of devastation. Debris fields floated where orbital stations once stood. Burning wreckage drifted through space like funeral pyres. The beautiful blue-green planet below was scarred with impact craters visible even from this distance. Sensor report, Taemin ordered. Dongwu's fingers flew across his console. 312 Kryn warships detected. They're spread throughout the system. Main battle group is in orbit around Velith Prime, conducting systematic bombardment. Secondary groups are positioned near resource extraction points. Their command carrier is stationed at the edge of the planet's gravity well. That carrier, Hana said, studying the tactical display. It's massive. How big? Approximately 40 kilometers long, Dongwu replied. Crew complement estimated at 200,000. It's essentially a mobile city with enough firepower to level a continent. Lieutenant Baum pulled up visual feeds from the planet's surface. What she saw made her stomach turn. Velith cities, built with coral-like structures that had once glowed with bioluminescent beauty, now lay in ruins. Oceans that should have been clear and bright were clouded with debris and what looked like chemical contamination. "They're not just attacking," Baum said quietly. "They're destroying everything the Velith built." A communication request appeared on the main screen. Taemin nodded to his communications officer. "Put them through." A Velith face appeared on the screen. The creature's translucent skin revealed the complex network of organs beneath. Bioluminescent patterns flickered across its body in colors that the ship's translator identified as distress and hope mixed together. "I am Counselor Mirval," the Velith said. The translator gave the voice a melodic quality. "We saw your fleet arrive. Thank you for coming. We had almost lost hope." "Captain Taemin of the Earth warship Retribution," Taemin replied. "We received your contract terms and accepted them. We're here to stop the Kryn invasion. May I come aboard your ship?" the counselor asked. "We should discuss the situation in detail." "Prepare your shuttle," Taemin said. "We'll guide you in." The transmission ended. Hana moved closer to Taemin. "We should be careful. The Velith are desperate. Desperate people sometimes don't tell the whole truth." "Noted," Taemin said. "Have security meet them at the docking bay." An hour later, Counselor Mirval and 2 other Velith entered the briefing room. They wore special suits filled with water and pressure regulation systems. Without these suits, they would die in the ship's atmosphere. The Velith moved gracefully despite the bulky equipment, their bodies swaying with a fluid motion that came from living underwater. The briefing room held Taemin's command staff. They all stood as the Velith entered, showing respect. The counselor's bioluminescence shifted to colors that indicated gratitude. "Please sit," Taemin said, gesturing to specially prepared seats. "Tell us exactly what happened here." The counselor settled into a seat. Its voice carried sadness that needed no translation. "The Kryn came 3 months ago. They demanded we surrender our world to them. They said our oceans contained minerals they needed. They said our people could relocate to another planet under their supervision. You refused," Hana stated. "We are philosophers and artists," the counselor said, "but we are not fools. We know what happens to species under Kryn supervision. They work them to death in mines and factories. We refused their demands and asked the Galactic Council for protection." "The Council did nothing," Taemin said. "They formed a committee to study the issue," the counselor replied. Colors indicating bitterness rippled across its skin. "They debated legal precedents. They discussed whether intervening would violate the Kryn's sovereignty. Meanwhile, the Kryn began bombing our cities. 2 billion of our people have died. Another 6 billion are trapped in deep ocean shelters, slowly running out of food and air." Dr. Iso leaned forward. "Are the Kryn using chemical or biological weapons?" The counselor's colors shifted to dark purple. "Yes, they release toxins into our oceans. The water itself is becoming poisonous to us. Our scientists estimate that in 6 months our entire world will be uninhabitable for our species." "6 months," Dongwu repeated. "They're not trying to conquer you quickly. They're making sure you have no choice but to surrender or die slowly." "That is correct," the counselor said, "which is why we called humanity. Everyone in the galaxy knows what your species does best. You survive, you win. You do whatever is necessary to achieve your objectives." Taemin studied the Velith carefully. "You called us specifically. The Telvanni have a larger fleet and they're closer. The Xylofs owe you trade debts. Why did you want humanity?" The counselor was quiet for a moment. Its bioluminescence dimmed slightly. "Because we saw you coming." Hana stood up. "What does that mean?" "Our people have a gift," the counselor explained. "Some of us can see possible futures. Not clearly, not with detail, but we see paths that might happen. When the Kryn came, our seers looked into the future to find a way to survive." "And what did they see?" Taemin asked. "2 paths," the counselor said. "In one, we die under Kryn occupation. Our species goes extinct within a generation. In the other path, we call for humanity. In that future, the Velith survive." "What else did your seers see in that future?" Taemin pressed. "What did we do to save you?" The counselor's colors shifted to patterns that showed fear and uncertainty. "That is the problem. The vision always goes dark before showing us the cost. Our seers can see that we survive if you help us, but they cannot see what price we pay for that survival." The briefing room fell silent. Everyone understood what the counselor was saying. The Velith had gambled everything on a vision that promised survival but hid the cost. "You should have told us this in your distress call," Hana said. "If we had, would you have come?" the counselor asked. "Would any species come to help us if they knew we were using them based on visions of the future?" "No," Taman admitted. "Probably not. We are desperate," the counselor said. "Our children are dying. Our civilization is ending. We saw one chance to survive and we took it. Please do not abandon us because we were not completely honest." Taman looked at his command staff. Dr. Isol's face showed concern. Dongwu appeared thoughtful, already calculating new variables. Baum looked sympathetic. Hana's expression revealed nothing, as always. "We accepted your contract," Taman said finally. "We'll honor it. But from now on, no more secrets. If you know something that affects this mission, you tell us immediately." Relief washed across the counselor's body in waves of bright color. "Thank you. I will be completely honest from now on." "Good," Taman said. "Now let's discuss tactics. Dongwu, give us the tactical situation." Dongwu activated the holographic display at the center of the table. A three-dimensional map of the Velith system appeared, with red markers showing Kryn positions and blue markers showing the human fleet. "We're outnumbered 6-1, Dongwu began. "The Kryn have defensive positions around the planet. They control the high ground. A direct assault would result in catastrophic casualties on our side. Probably 70% losses before we could even engage their main fleet." "What about their supply lines?" Hana asked. Dongwu highlighted several points in the outer system. "They have supply depots here, here, and here. Ammunition stores at these locations. Their main logistics base is on the fourth planet's moon." "Weaknesses?" Taman asked. "Their command structure is rigid," Dongwu said. "Everything flows through the command carrier. If we could disrupt their communications or eliminate their command ship, the fleet would lose coordination." "Can't we just destroy the command carrier?" Baum asked. "It's too heavily defended," Dongwu replied. "They keep it surrounded by at least 50 escort vessels. We don't have the firepower for a direct assault." Lieutenant Baum pulled up reconnaissance data from her earlier scouting run. "I flew through the system before we jumped in. The Kryn are confident, maybe too confident. Their patrol patterns are predictable. They're not expecting a real fight from the Velith, and I don't think they know we're here yet." "They'll know soon enough," Hana said. "Once we make our first move, they'll adjust their tactics." Taman studied the holographic map, his cybernetic eyes processing information faster than natural eyes could. He saw supply routes, weak points, opportunities. But he also saw the terrible math of the situation. 47 ships against 300. Even with superior tactics, the odds were brutal. "Counselor," Taman said, "I need you to understand something. We can hurt the Kryn, we can make them bleed, but winning this war will require methods that may disturb you." "We called humanity because we know what you are capable of," the counselor replied. "We are a peaceful species, but we are not naive. Do what you must to save our people." Taman nodded slowly. "Hana, begin planning unconventional operations. I want targets that will force the Kryn to react. Dongwu, I need detailed analysis of their supply network. Find me vulnerabilities. Boom, organize reconnaissance flights. I want eyes on every major Kryn position. Isol, prepare medical for casualties and be ready to treat Velith civilians if we can extract any." The command staff dispersed to their tasks. The Kryn Admiral Vexthor watched the tactical display with satisfaction. 3 months of bombardment had nearly broken the Velith resistance. Soon the pathetic fish creatures would surrender, and the rich oceans of their world would belong to the Dominion. It was simply a matter of time. His second officer approached with a report. "Admiral, long-range sensors detected a small fleet entering the system. 47 vessels. They appear to be human ships." Vexthor's scaled lips curled into what his species considered a smile. "Humans, the Velith hired mercenaries? How desperate they must be. Should we engage them, Admiral?" "No," Vexthor said. "Let them come. 47 ships against our 300? They will see our strength and leave. Humans are brutal, but they are not stupid. They will not throw away their lives for a doomed species." On the bridge of the Retribution, Captain Taman issued orders that would prove the Kryn Admiral very wrong. "All ships execute dispersal pattern Echo 7. Scatter throughout the system. No ship should be within sensor range of another." Hana pulled up the tactical map. "The Kryn will think we're retreating. Good, Taemin said. Let them think that. While they're feeling confident, we go to work. 47 human warships spread throughout the Velith system like seeds scattered by wind. To the Kryn, it looked like a disorganized retreat. They had no idea they were watching the first move in a strategy that would haunt them. Lieutenant Bomb sat in the cockpit of her stealth fighter, leading a squadron of 12 similar craft. They flew dark with all non-essential systems powered down. Stealth technology made them nearly invisible to standard sensors. Her target was simple, a Kryn supply convoy traveling from the outer system to the main fleet. All fighters, weapons free, Bomb transmitted. Hit fast and get out faster. The squadron struck like ghosts. Missiles launched from the darkness, slamming into fuel tankers and ammunition transports. Explosions bloomed in the vacuum of space. By the time the Kryn escorts could react, Bomb's squadron was gone, disappearing into the black. Over the next 3 days, similar attacks happened throughout the system. Supply depots exploded. Fuel convoys disappeared. Food shipments were destroyed. The Kryn fleet continued bombarding Velith Prime, but something was changing. Ships started rationing ammunition. Combat efficiency dropped as crews worked longer hours with less rest and fewer supplies. Admiral Vexthor stared at casualty reports with growing anger. How are they doing this? We have 300 warships. They have less than 50. Where are they? Everywhere and nowhere, Admiral, his tactical officer replied nervously. They refuse to engage our main fleet. They only attack our weakest targets, and they disappear before we can respond. Engineer Dongwu sat in his quarters on the Retribution, working on his most important contribution to the war effort. Lines of code scrolled across his screens. He was creating a virus, a digital weapon designed specifically for Kryn computer systems. The virus was beautiful in its simplicity. It didn't destroy systems or shut them down. That would be too obvious. Instead, it corrupted small things. Targeting computers would have errors of just 2 or 3 degrees. Communications would experience delays of a few seconds. Navigation charts would be slightly inaccurate. Each error alone was minor. Together, they would erode the Kryn's confidence in their own technology. Dongwu uploaded the virus into a captured Kryn supply drone and sent it drifting toward the enemy fleet. When the Kryn recovered the drone, thinking they had found lost equipment, the virus would spread through their networks like a disease. 2 days later, Kryn ships began reporting technical difficulties. Weapons fire that should have hit targets missed by small margins. Messages between ships arrived out of sequence. Small accidents accumulated. A collision between 2 patrol craft. A weapons malfunction that destroyed a fighter bay. Nothing catastrophic, but enough to create doubt. Commander Hana's contribution was psychological warfare. Using captured Kryn communication frequencies, human ships began broadcasting footage from Earth's history. The resource wars. Nuclear weapons turning cities to ash. Entire armies destroyed in minutes. Concentration camps where humans did terrible things to other humans. The broadcast came with a simple message in the Kryn language. This is what we do to ourselves. Imagine what we will do to you. Kryn soldiers watched the footage in their barracks. They saw humans executing prisoners without emotion. They saw cities burning while humans simply walked through the flames, continuing to fight. They saw footage of battlefield after battlefield where humans refused to surrender, even when victory was impossible. The message was clear. Humans were survivors who had turned their own planet into hell and emerged stronger. What chance did the Kryn have? Counselor Mirval watched human operations from the observation deck of the Retribution. The Velith's bioluminescence pulsed with colors that Dr. Isil's medical scanner identified as distress and confusion. This is not what I expected, the counselor said to Isul. I thought there would be battles, honor, strategy, and tactics like in the old war. Stories. Isil checked the counselor's life support systems while she responded. Humans don't fight like that. We fight to win, not to look honorable doing it. You are not saving us, the counselor said quietly. You are simply destroying them. Yes, Isil replied. That is what you paid for. The counselor's colors shifted to deep purple, a shade that meant profound sadness in Velith culture. I begin to understand why the rest of the galaxy fears your species. Admiral Vexthor called an emergency meeting of his command staff. Reports covered the table. Supply shortages, technical malfunctions, plummeting morale. The human fleet still had not engaged his main forces, but his military was deteriorating from within. "We will force them to fight," Vexthor declared. "Concentrate our fleet around their largest ship. When they come to defend it, we will destroy them all at once." His officers hesitated. One brave soul spoke up. "Admiral, what if it is a trap?" "Then we spring the trap and crush it," Vexthor growled. "I am tired of chasing shadows. We are the Kryn Dominion. We do not hide in fear from mammals who barely crawled out of their gravity well." 100 Kryn warships moved toward the position of the Retribution. Sensors showed the massive human dreadnought sitting alone, apparently vulnerable. Vexthor ordered his fleet to surround it and prepare for battle. On the bridge of the real Retribution, Taemin watched the Kryn fleet move toward the decoy. The ship they were surrounding was not the real command ship. It was a hollowed-out hull packed with antimatter and remotely controlled. "Range?" Taemin asked. "They're in optimal position," Dongwu reported. "All 100 ships are within the blast radius." "Detonate," Taemin ordered. The decoy ship exploded with the force of a small star. Antimatter annihilation released energy that vaporized 40 Kryn warships instantly. 60 more were damaged so badly they became floating wrecks. The few survivors scattered in panic. Admiral Vexthor stared at his display in horror. 100 ships gone. 40,000 crew members dead. The humans had sacrificed nothing and destroyed a third of his fleet. "Locate their real command ship," Vexthor screamed. "Find them and destroy them, now!" But the Retribution was 3 million kilometers away, watching from stealth. The Kryn would never know where the attack came from. That night, Vexthor sent a message to the entire system. His image appeared on every screen, his reptilian features twisted with rage. "Humans, you fight like cowards. You hide in the dark and strike at the weak. We are not impressed by your tricks. If you will not face us in honorable combat, we will show you the price of your cowardice." The image changed to show massive weapons being moved into position around Velith Prime. They were planet cracker bombs, weapons designed to shatter a world's crust and turn it into a lifeless rock. "You have 24 hours to surrender," Vexthor continued. "Withdraw your fleet and leave this system. If you refuse, we will destroy Velith Prime and every creature on it. 8 billion lives will end because of your interference." The transmission ended. On the Retribution, Taemin's command staff gathered in emergency session. Lieutenant Baum spoke first, her voice filled with urgency.
"Sir, we have to call their bluff."
"There is no way they would actually destroy the planet. They came here for the resources." "It's not a bluff," Dongwu said, studying the data. "Those are real planet cracker weapons. If they activate them, Velith Prime dies." "Then we stop them," Baum insisted. "We launch an assault on those weapons platforms. We would lose half our fleet trying," Hana calculated. "And we might not succeed. They have those platforms heavily defended." Dr. Isul looked at Taemin. "What are you thinking, Captain?" Taemin stared at the holographic display showing Velith Prime and the weapons aimed at it. He thought about the Velith children in their shelters. He thought about the promise he made to help them. He thought about the contract they signed. "The contract says we stop the Kryn invasion," Taemin said quietly. "It does not say we preserve the planet." The bridge went silent. Everyone understood what he meant. "Sir," Isul said carefully, "what exactly are you planning?" "The Kryn think we care about Velith Prime more than we care about winning," Taemin said. "They think they can threaten the planet and we will back down. They are wrong." He turned to Dongwu. The Harbinger Protocol had been humanity's most closely guarded secret since the end of the resource wars. Deep in the outer reaches of star systems, automated stations quietly moved asteroids into position and began the long process of acceleration. It took years to bring rocks to 95% of light speed, but once launched, nothing could stop them. Engineer Dongwu worked at his console, coordinating the weapons that Earth had placed throughout the galaxy as insurance. His hands shook slightly as he entered targeting data. These were not military targets he was programming. These were cities. Research stations. The Kryn Emperor's palace carved from crystal on their homeworld's moon. "Targeting data confirmed," Dongwu reported, his voice hollow. 43 projectiles will be ready to launch in 6 hours. Time to impact, 72 hours after launch. Captain Taemin stood at the viewport watching Velith Prime rotate slowly below. Somewhere down there, billions of innocent creatures waited to learn if they would live or die. The Kryn Admiral's 24-hour deadline was ticking down. Soon, Taemin would have to make a choice that would define the rest of his life. The door to the bridge opened. Counselor Mirval entered, moving quickly despite the bulky water suit. The Velith's bioluminescence flashed with colors that the translator identified as panic and horror. "Captain Taemin," the counselor said, "I accessed your ship's tactical network. I saw your targeting data. Please tell me I am misunderstanding what I saw." "You are not misunderstanding," Taemin replied. "Those targets include civilian population centers," the counselor said. "The Kryn homeworld's moon has 3 billion inhabitants. You are planning to kill them all." "Only if necessary," Taemin said. "How is that different from what the Kryn are doing to us?" the counselor demanded. "We asked you to save us from genocide, not to commit genocide on our behalf." Taemin turned from the viewport. His cybernetic eyes showed no emotion. "You asked us to stop the invasion. This stops the invasion. The Kryn admiral threatened 8 billion Velith lives. I am threatening his entire civilization in response. When he understands that we are willing to follow through, he will withdraw." "And if he does not?" the counselor asked. "If he calls your bluff?" "Then it was not a bluff," Taemin said. "And the Kryn dominion ends." The counselor's colors shifted to deep black, a shade that meant horror beyond words in Velith culture. "We did not hire you to become monsters." "Yes, you did," Commander Hana said, entering the conversation. "You hired humanity specifically because we are monsters. You watched our history broadcasts. You saw what we did to ourselves during the resource wars. You knew exactly what you were getting." "I thought you would fight the Kryn military," the counselor said, "not kill innocent civilians." "The Kryn do not consider Velith civilians innocent," Hana replied. "They are killing your children right now. They poisoned your oceans. They are committing genocide while we have this conversation. Where is your horror for them?" "That does not make what you are planning right," the counselor insisted. Dr. Isol spoke up from her medical station. "The counselor has a point, Captain. We are not supposed to be war criminals. The military code of conduct prohibits targeting civilians." "We are not targeting civilians," Taemin said. "We are targeting military-industrial infrastructure that happens to be near population centers. That is a technical distinction that means nothing to the people who will die," Isol argued. Lieutenant Baum stood at her pilot station, her hands gripping the console. "Sir, I volunteered to fly missions against military targets. I signed up to protect innocent people. I did not sign up for mass murder." "Then you are free to submit a formal objection," Taemin said. "It will be noted in your record, but the protocol will proceed as planned." The bridge fell into tense silence. Dongwu continued his calculations, trying to focus on numbers instead of thinking about what those numbers represented. Hana stood beside Taemin, her face showing the same iron determination he felt. "Captain," Dongwu said quietly, "we will be violating 17 different galactic conventions if we follow through with this. Earth could face sanctions. We could be tried as war criminals." "I am aware," Taemin replied. A priority transmission arrived from the Kryn flagship. Admiral Vexthor's face appeared on the main screen, his reptilian features twisted in anger but also something else. Concern. Perhaps even fear. "Human Captain," Vexthor said, "our intelligence network has detected unusual activity in your military installations throughout this region. We know you are preparing weapons. I warn you that any attack on Kryn territory will result in the immediate destruction of Velith Prime." "I am aware of your threats, Admiral," Taemin replied calmly. "I have a counter-proposal. Withdraw all Kryn forces from this system within the next 12 hours. Leave Velith Prime intact. Pay reparations to the Velith government for the damage you have caused." Vexthor laughed, a harsh sound that came through the translator as crackling static. "Why would I do that?" "You are outnumbered. Your position is weak." "Because if you do not," Taemin said, "in 72 hours your homeworld's moon will cease to exist. The Emperor's palace will be vaporized. 3 billion Kryn will die. Your civilization's entire command structure will be destroyed in an instant." Vexthor's laughter stopped. "You are bluffing, am I?" Taemin asked. 43 relativistic projectiles are already launched and approaching your territory. They are traveling at 95% of light speed. You cannot see them coming. You cannot stop them. And you cannot shoot them down. In 72 hours you will learn whether I am bluffing." The transmission ended. Vexthor's image disappeared from the screen. The bridge crew stared at their captain in shock. "Sir," Baum said slowly, "did you actually launch the weapons?" Yes, Taman confirmed. They launched 6 minutes ago. The bridge erupted in chaos. Isol stood up from her station. Captain, you just started a war that could kill billions of people. I am ending a war that is already killing billions, Taman corrected. Dongwu pulled up tracking data. Projectiles are on course. Impact in 71 hours, 54 minutes. Sir, once these weapons reach terminal velocity, we cannot recall them. We cannot stop them. If the Kryn do not surrender, they will hit their targets. I understand, Taman said. Counselor Mirval's bioluminescence had gone completely dark, a sign of emotional shutdown in Velith psychology. What have you done? The counselor whispered. What have we done by bringing you here? In the Kryn flagship, Admiral Vexthor convened an emergency meeting with his staff and opened a priority channel to the Kryn homeworld. The Emperor himself appeared on the communication screen, his aged scales covered in ceremonial markings. What is happening in the Velith system? The Emperor demanded. Our sensors detect objects approaching our moon at impossible speeds. The humans, Vexthor explained. They have weapons we did not know existed. Kinetic projectiles traveling at near light speed. If they hit, the impact will destroy the moon and everything on it. Then destroy the humans immediately, the Emperor ordered. If we attack their fleet, they may launch more weapons at our core worlds, Vexthor said. Sir, we may have made a terrible mistake. These humans fight unlike any species we have encountered. The Kryn Dominion does not surrender, the Emperor said. Hold your position. Maintain the threat to Velith Prime. The humans will back down when they realize we are serious. The transmission ended. Vexthor looked at his tactical officer. How many ships would we need to destroy the human fleet? All of them, Admiral, the officer replied. And even then the outcome would be uncertain. These humans fight like they have nothing to lose. In the Retribution's medical bay, Dr. Isol treated a crew member's minor injury while her mind raced with ethical calculations. She had sworn an oath to protect life. The protocol violated everything she believed in. But she also remembered the refugee camps from her childhood, survivors of colonies that were destroyed while the military debated, and politicians argued. Lieutenant Baum sat in her fighter's cockpit, running pre-flight checks she did not need to run. Her hands moved through familiar patterns while her thoughts spiraled. She had joined the military to be a hero. Heroes did not threaten to kill billions of innocent people. Commander Hana found Baum in the hangar bay. You are questioning the captain's orders. Yes, Baum admitted. Are not you? Every day, Hana replied. But questioning and disobeying are different things. The captain is doing what needs to be done. How can you be sure? Baum asked. Because I have seen what happens when humans hesitate, Hana said. I was at the Proxima colony when the raiders came. We waited for diplomatic solutions while people died. By the time Earth Command authorized military action, 2 million colonists were dead. Sometimes mercy kills more people than cruelty does. The hours ticked down, 48 hours until impact, then 36, then 24. The Kryn had not withdrawn. Velith Prime still faced the planet cracker weapons. 2 civilizations balanced on the edge of destruction, while stubborn leaders refused to back down. At the 18-hour mark, a new transmission arrived. It was not from Admiral Vexthor. It was from the Kryn Emperor himself. Human Captain, the Emperor said. I have reviewed the situation carefully. You have made your point. 3 months after the Velith crisis ended, the warship Retribution docked at Earth's primary orbital station. Captain Taman stood at attention while Admiral Park pinned the Solar Cross to his uniform. The metal was heavy, made of platinum with diamonds arranged to represent Earth's sun. It was humanity's highest military honor, given to those who saved countless lives through extraordinary valor. Taman accepted the medal with a face that showed no expression. Behind him, his command crew stood in their dress uniforms. Commander Hana wore the same blank expression as her captain. Lieutenant Baum looked uncomfortable in the spotlight. Engineer Dongwu stared at the floor. Dr. Isol was not present at all. Captain Taman, Admiral Park said for the cameras and the watching crowd, you and your crew faced overwhelming odds and achieved a complete victory without losing a single ship or crew member. You saved 8 billion lives. You are heroes, the crowd cheered. Media drones captured every angle. Politicians smiled and applauded. Nobody mentioned the 43 weapons that had been aimed at civilian targets. Nobody talked about how close Earth came to committing genocide. The official story was clean and heroic. Later that night, Taemin sat alone in a small apartment in Seoul, looking out at the city lights. The solar cross lay in a drawer, still in its presentation box. He had not opened it since returning home. A message arrived on his personal terminal. It was from the Galactic Council, marked urgent. Taemin read it with growing unease. The Council had discovered evidence of the Harbinger Protocol. Somebody had leaked classified information about humanity's relativistic weapons and the targets that had been selected. Some Council members were calling for sanctions against Earth. Others wanted humans quarantined to their own systems. A few pragmatic species simply increased their defense contracts with human corporations, quietly acknowledging that having humanity as an ally was better than having them as an enemy. The Velith representative had abstained from voting on any punitive measures. That abstention spoke volumes about their complicated feelings toward their saviors. Taemin's command crew had scattered after returning to Earth. Each of them carried the weight of what almost happened in different ways. Dr. Isul had resigned. Her military commission the day they returned. She opened a free clinic in a refugee district, treating people who had fled from wars that Earth's military had helped create. She worked 18-hour days trying to heal enough people to balance the scales. Taemin had tried to contact her twice. She never responded. Lieutenant Baum requested transfer to the Exploration Corps, joining missions that searched for new worlds instead of fighting over old ones. Her fighter had been damaged during her suicide run through the Kryn fleet, and her neural implants had been affected. She flew now with constant pain that medication could only partially suppress. Every time she climbed into a cockpit, she remembered the day she volunteered to deliver a message that might have prevented billions of deaths. Engineer Dongwu accepted a position with military research and development. He rationalized that if weapons like Harbinger existed, somebody responsible should oversee them. He told himself this while drinking expensive whiskey alone in his government-provided apartment, trying to forget the calculations he had made. Numbers on a screen. 3 billion Kryn. Just numbers. Commander Hana became an instructor at the Naval Academy. She taught tactical doctrine to young officers who still believed in clean victories and heroic battles. Her lessons were brutally honest about warfare's reality. Some students called her cynical. Others called her the best teacher they ever had. A journalist named Ji-won tracked Taemin to his apartment 3 weeks after the medal ceremony. She was young and enthusiastic, working for a major Earth news network. She wanted to write his biography, to tell the story of the captain who saved 8 billion lives. They sat in his small living room, tea growing cold on the table between them. "You are a hero," Ji-won said, her recorder capturing everything. "You faced impossible odds and won. People want to know your story. What story would you tell?" Taemin asked. "The truth," Ji-won replied. "How you outsmarted a superior enemy force. How you used unconventional tactics to defeat them. How you saved an entire species from extinction." "Is that the truth?" Taemin asked. "Or is it the version that makes good headlines?" Ji-won leaned forward. "What do you mean?" "You want to write about a hero," Taemin said. "But heroes do not threaten to kill 3 billion innocent people to achieve their objectives." "But you did not kill them," Ji-won pointed out. "The Kryn surrendered. You won without firing the ultimate weapon." "Only because they surrendered first," Taemin replied. "If they had not, I would have followed through. I would have killed every person on that moon without hesitation." Ji-won's expression shifted from enthusiasm to confusion. "But you are a good person. You saved 8 billion lives." "I threatened to kill 10 billion to do it," Taemin said. "The only reason I am not a war criminal is because the Kryn Emperor blinked first." "So you are saying you are a bad person?" Ji-won asked. Taemin thought about that for a long moment. He thought about the Velith children in their shelters, waiting to learn if they would live or die. He thought about the Kryn civilians who never knew how close they came to annihilation. He thought about his crew, each carrying scars that metals could not heal. "I am a human person," Taemin said finally. "That is complicated." Ji-won left without the story she wanted to write. Taemin suspected she would write it anyway, turning his words into something more palatable for audiences who wanted simple heroes and clear villains. A transmission arrived from Velith Prime a few days later. Counselor Mirval appeared on Taemin's screen, the Velith's bioluminescence showing colors that indicated careful thought and measured emotion. "Captain Taemin," the counselor said, My government has finished our internal debates about humanity and our relationship with your species. I wanted you to hear our decision directly. I am listening, Taman said. We will maintain our alliance with Earth, the counselor explained. We will honor our contracts and continue trade relationships. But we will do so with complete awareness of what humanity is. We will never again mistake your efficiency for compassion. We will never again believe that you act from kindness rather than self-interest. That is probably wise, Taman admitted. You saved us, the counselor continued. That is undeniable. 8 billion Velith are alive because you came when we called. But you also showed us something terrifying. You showed us that in this galaxy's darkness, the monster who fights for you is still a monster. Yes, Taman agreed. We are. Our seers have looked into future probabilities again, the counselor said. They see new branches now, paths that did not exist before your intervention. In some futures, humanity becomes the galaxy's protector. In others, you become its destroyer. The choice is yours to make. The transmission ended. Taman sat in silence, thinking about futures that might happen and decisions that would determine which path humanity followed. Intelligence reports arrived over the following weeks, painting a picture of the aftermath in Kryn space. Their emperor had been executed by his own military commanders for the humiliating surrender. Civil war erupted between factions who blamed each other for the defeat. The Dominion fractured into competing territories, their expansion halted for a generation. Some people celebrated this as justice. The Kryn had committed genocide and paid the price for their aggression. Others recognized it as proof that humanity's methods created as much suffering as they prevented. The cycle of violence continued, just with different victims. At the Naval Academy, Commander Hanna taught a class called Advanced Tactical Doctrine. The students were young officers, fresh from basic training and eager to serve. One student, a woman named Yuna, reminded Hanna of Lieutenant Baum before the Velith mission. Same enthusiasm, same belief in heroism. Hanna showed them footage of the Velith crisis, the bombardment, the desperate refugees, the human response. Then she showed them classified footage of the Harbinger protocol, the weapons positioned to launch, the targets that had been selected. This is what humanity does, Hanna told the silent classroom. We survive. We protect our interests. We win at any cost. Some species call us mercenaries. Some call us saviors. Some call us monsters. She paused, looking at each young face staring back at her. The truth is we are all three, and if you cannot accept that complexity, if you need to be purely good or purely evil, then you are in the wrong career. Yuna raised her hand. Commander, if we are not the good guys, then what are we fighting for? Survival, Hanna replied. Our own and that of the people who hire us. It is not noble. It is not heroic, but it is honest. 6 months after the Velith crisis, new orders arrived for Captain Taman. Another species in trouble. Another distress call from a peaceful civilization facing a stronger enemy. Another contract offering resources in exchange for humanity's protection. Taman looked at the orders for a long time. He could refuse. He could resign his commission like Isol did. He could walk away from the violence and the impossible choices. But he knew what would happen if he did. Earth would send someone else. The war would happen anyway. At least if he accepted, he could try to control how brutal it became.